I am about to turn 50, and
Me too.
so is Emily. I, I'm going to get there first. Just want you to know that I'm going to win. But we have learned a lot in our 40s, and we're not going to tell you everything that we learned in our 40s, but we're going to talk about some of it today. And it's all going to start with a John Cougar Mellencamp song called Glory Days. Did he sing that song? John Cougar Mellencamp? I thought it's Bruce Springsteen. No. While Emily's looking that up, welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. I am Erik Orton.
I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth, turning 50, family connection, and raising adult kids. We're gonna fact check ourselves right now.
Nope. Erik wins again. Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen. Bam! That's like catalog of musical knowledge right here. Just north of my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days. Emily, what were we talking about, Glory Days?
Well, I remember hearing that song in high school and thinking, I don't believe it. It's singing about how kind of like high school and the football season and all of that is the glory days. And even while I was in it, I was like, how depressing is that to think that I'm gonna peak out at graduation? I just thought I'm gonna be around for a long time, and I loved my experience in high school. I had great friends, some I'm still in touch with, and I had a great experience. But I, in no way, shape, or form, ever believed that that was going to be kind of my glory days, right? And even now, when I have nightmares, it's about being in high school again. I'm like, wait, I don't have to go to high school. Like, I graduated, I'm done. And then I realized, awesome. Things just keep getting so much better. And I think that's one of the things that we have learned in our nearly 100 collective years.
Wow, no. You can do that for like a business profile. Like amongst us, we have a collective years of experience of this, like, age-wise, no. But I will say this. I know that when I was a young man, I had a vision of what 40 would look like. And I didn't really have a clear vision of what 50 would look like, but I knew it just felt old. And I have to say that I'm happy to report that I have proved myself wrong. I'm so grateful to be wrong in this category. And we've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again. Turning 40. I turned 40 when we were living on our sailboat in the Caribbean. And quick recap, if you're new, we lived on a sailboat for a year. We had 5 kids in the Caribbean back in 2014. And it was really impactful for us. And here's what happened. Can I talk about my weight?
Hey,
I'm going to talk
what
about...
could go wait? No, we wrote a book about our trip called Seven at Sea, and we thought if we really wanted to sell this book in America, we could call it How to Lose 20 Pounds Without Trying. And
all right, so
why don't you tell the story?
To my weight. So I had been working an office job for a long time, and was not very active, and always had lots of lower back pain, and just was kind of low energy, a little pudgy, a little white, like not like pale, just like not a lot of color in my skin, sunshine wise.
You're always handsome.
Thank you. You're very kind. And so one of the cool things that happened was that we were living on this boat, and a year later, I didn't have a scale. We barely even had mirrors to sort of see what we looked like. So, like, we could see our faces. We did not have a full length mirror. So I never saw what my body looked like unless it was in the photograph. Mm-hmm. But we came home, and after a year, stepped on a scale, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I knew I dropped weight because I could see it. It was physically noticeable.
There was an ongoing joke that you could barely keep your swim trunks on because they were so loose.
You should be so lucky. All right. Sorry, listeners. So I finally weigh myself, and I was like, whoa, I dropped 20 pounds. And guess what? Guess how many times I worked out? one time. I tried to do push-ups on the deck of the boat one time, and trying to do push-ups on a boat is like the quickest way to get a bloody nose, because like you're trying to do a push-up and the boat is wobbling ever so slightly, and the boat just can kind of come up quicker than you think, and it's going to smack your nose, and next thing you know, you got a bloody nose.
Comes up to meet you.
So I did not work out, but I was relatively active on the boat, and we ate differently, we ate better, we were out in nature, more sunshine, all that sort of stuff. So here's the thing. You think that up until this point, I thought it was inevitable. I just thought, oh, this is what happens when you turn 40, or you're coming up on your 40s, that life, your body just, you know, gets pudgier and softer and rounder.
You just got to plan on it.
And that's just how it goes. You know, your eyesight dims, your hearing starts to go, all that stuff that kind of like, you know, gets associated with old age. And I think that there are certain aspects of it that are beyond our control. But there's a surprising amount, in my opinion, that is within our control. And we get to decide what our 40s look like, what our 50s look like, what our 60s look like, and what our 90s look like. Because it's none of it is written in stone. So much of it is socialized that, oh, this is what getting old looks like. And it doesn't have to. So I'm talking a lot here.
So what happened, though? You got home, you got on a scale, and what did you discover?
Turns out I was wrong. Well, I already said that I lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And
right, you discovered you lost 20 pounds, but what else did that bring to your mind? It was actually even more impactful and shocking than to have dropped 20 pounds without realizing it.
Well, I guess first I learned that it was not inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
that it did not have to be that way. And that, as I'm fond of saying, I saw myself in a new way. I was like, oh, this can be different if I just have a different level of physical activity. It can be different if I eat a little bit different. It can be different if I have more, I'm outside more and in the elements. Because all the things that I had struggled with physically prior to that, my lower back pain, all sort of like the low-key ailments of aging were gone, like 100% gone. So back to Emily's joke about, you know, the best way to lose 20 pounds without, you know, what is it again? How to lose 20 pounds without trying. Step one, go buy a sailboat.
Buy a sailboat, go live on it. Yeah, and I think that was really important, a discovery that you had a choice. The choice was always there, but you didn't know there was a choice. You thought you were on an inevitable track and that there was nothing you could do about it. So why would you change your behavior? This is just how life goes, right?
Correct.
Like a law like gravity. Don't fight it. And so you discovered that it wasn't inevitable, that you had a choice. And then with that information, you decided to start making different choices. Up to then, you hadn't consciously made any effort to adjust your activity or your eating. That happened because we changed our environment, right?
Yeah.
And I know Erik mentioned earlier that we ate better, and the whole like health world, like what does that even mean? I can just say specifically for us, we were eating predominantly shelf-stable foods, but we made a really strong effort
shelf-stable for the lay people here. For me, that's like
shelf-stable. Stuff that's boxes. In a can, like pasta,
it's not
rice,
fresh produce,
and may not be what most people would consider eating better. But because we had such a tiny refrigerator and we didn't want to put leftovers in there, we just didn't have room for that kind of thing. We tried to really say, how much food does our family actually eat? And it turns out, to get to full, we actually eat about half the amount that what we ate when we were living on land, because I would just make a giant pot of whatever we were having, a big casserole, and we just continue sitting there and keep eating, and we would end up eating twice as much as what we needed to be satisfied. So we still ate a lot of the same foods. It wasn't like we were eating organic or we were eating sort of special diet. We were eating the kind of things that were available in the Caribbean grocery stores and that could last the longest on a sailboat in a humid environment. So we did eat vegetables and fruits, but we mostly ate canned foods and boxed foods, but we just ate about half.
So
the
the,
amount.
the first lesson of being in our 40s is just eat half as much. Just
Well, I don't know about that.
cut your diet in half, and you'll be great.
I'm just saying what was happening, and in addition to that, we got a ton of sunshine and vitamin D, and regularly we were in the salt water, which I think just had to be healthy, and we slept on the solar schedule. I mean, there were a variety of elements that were part of what felt healthy in our bodies. But the main point is that you realized it wasn't inevitable, and so when you returned to the environment where you had previously been sedentary, you started making different choices.
Sort of, because I think it's worth admitting that I promptly, like within a few weeks or months, I gained 20 pounds back.
You gained 40 pounds.
No.
Yeah, 20
No,
back
no, no.
and then 20 more.
No, I gained 20 back, so I was back to where I was before. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I remembered, oh, I have a choice here. All the things that you're talking about, this is not inevitable. It's not like I have to just stay at this weight. And I became conscious of it. And then I became deliberate about what I was eating, my level of physical activity. And that's when I dropped 40 pounds.
Okay.
So I dropped 20 without trying, without,
Okay.
and then gained it all back. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I already know that it doesn't have to be this way. I have control over the situation. And I went to work on it. And then I dropped the first 20 and then went another 20 because I was working towards some big goals that I had already checked out on because I thought, oh, well, now that I'm in my 40s, it's too late to do those. It's too late to climb El Cap. And turns out I was wrong twice. So
you were wrong twice. You were wrong when you thought that weight gain was inevitable with aging, and you were wrong when you thought you were too old to climb.
Exactly. Glory days my eye. Okay, so this is not necessarily an episode about diet.
It's just a metaphor. It's just a metaphor.
So, but I want to talk about, our 40s. I think I can honestly say my 40s has been my favorite decade of life, hands down. And a lot of great things happened when I was 10 and prior to that. And a lot of things happened when I was 20 and prior to that. And in my 30s, that decade between 20 and 30, Emily and I got married, and all of our kids were born. Were all of them born in those 10 years? A little bit into our...
Yeah. 34 when I last tried.
So anyway, so great things have happened, but I've really loved being 40, and I'm pretty dang excited about what 50 and beyond holds. And so I'm kind of want to, this might sound a little negative, but I hear people say, oh, I can't, now that I'm getting older.
Okay, I have a story about this.
Yeah, tell it.
It actually kind of surprised me. So I was just working at a fundraiser, and we were setting up decorations, and at one point, one of the other women was going to stand on like a metal folding chair, right? Which I was going to hold the metal folding chair, and she was going to reach up to the ceiling. And she was tall. It was pretty close to what she was reaching to, and I was going to hold the metal chair for her, and she was like, "Oh no, I don't stand on metal chairs. I'm 40 now. Like those days are behind me." And there may be any number of reasons you might not want to stand on a metal chair, but the fact that your chronological number is 40 just didn't seem like it needed to be one of them. And so anyway, I was so surprised, and I came home thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm 43 and I stood up on that metal chair. That's how old I was at the time.
You are a wild woman.
I stood up on that metal chair and I stuck that piece of tape to the ceiling, and everything went fine, and I felt young and limber, and I just came home and I thought, I never want to use that as an excuse. Like if my knees give out on me, fine. That could happen at any age, but as long as my knees are working, different parts of my body are functioning, I want to be able to just keep doing these things for as long as I can. And I don't want to set those limitations in place for myself. Let them come from me. That's how I felt about it.
Okay, I want to run with that because I think that's an important thing, is to say this is where self-talk is important. Mm-hmm. And if you say to yourself, oh, now that I'm 40 or 45 or 50 or whatever age you are, and you sort of predetermine in your mind what that age, what you're capable of or what you're not capable of, or what you're willing to do or not willing to do based on arbitrary age, I'm gonna fight you on that.
push back.
I'm going to push back a little bit because I think, well, here's the thing. You can decide for yourself, but don't let other people tell you. If you say, you know what, 50 is the age that I'm going to really, that's the age when I insert whatever, like you want to like do an Ironman or marathon or whatever. I don't, but like you might say, oh, well, that's only for people in their 30s. Don't let anybody tell you what 40 should look like or what limits are or 50.
Or 60 or...
I can't speak from experience for those years, but I know, I guess just that be conscious of it and be ultra conscious of the subliminal messages that you might be taking in about what's possible or even appropriate for somebody of your age. Because I feel like I'm living my life backwards. And
yeah, it's true, because we're in our 40s sleeping in the back of a minivan camping in Yosemite. We're like, oh, I think this is we were supposed to do this in our 20s, but here we are.
Yeah. So anyway, just I guess just being conscious of letting your perception of what your life looks like at your age, be very careful about whether those messages are coming from outside of you or from inside of you. And my hope is that they'll come from inside of you and that they will be more abundant, more prosperous, more healthy, more vibrant, more adventurous than what other people might think. I hope you get to exceed their expectations and your own.
And I would say, for me, the secret to life, or like youth, right, is people who are easily delighted, who have something that they're looking forward to, and who are curious. And so they're learning something. And that is not dependent on any age that you might be. And lately, Eric's been listening to some books, and he told me, hey, this guy is like 70 years old, and he just set a 25-year plan. I thought, that's awesome. Like, always be having something that you're looking forward to. We are all going to exit this life at some point, and we're not going to have all the ends tied up like a bow. And for me personally, I just want to go out in the middle. Like, I will just have a lot of things in the midst. I want to stay current on my relationships and keep those healthy. But I want to always be making plans, learning, being curious about something, and just always being willing to be delighted.
Do you remember how old you were when we went to go see U2 in New York?
Yeah. We were probably in our early 30s.
I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I remember just thinking Bono and The Edge and the whole gang, Adam and Larry, they just knocked it out of the park. And they're like, I don't know, 15 years older than us. I don't know exactly. But I just thought, these guys are, not quite my dad's age, but they're older than me. And we had an incredible time at this show. And I just remember thinking, this is awesome. These guys are leaning into it. And now, 15 years down the road, I haven't seen their show in Vegas, but they're playing at the Sphere. And they're still at it. I mean, Adam has gotten shoulder surgery or something, the drummer, and he's not playing these shows. But they're still at it. They're still leveling up. They're still, I think, like defining what, they're not letting anybody say, oh, well, at a certain age, you gotta give it a rest, guys.
I mean, like at Dolly Parton, she just dropped a new album, and she's like almost 80.
Yeah, and it's like high on the charts. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Look for your examples of people who are like, that's how I want to do getting older. I like to say growing bolder instead of growing older. Yeah. I didn't make that up, but I, collected it once I saw that phrase. I was like, oh, I love that. Like, as we get wiser and wiser, we should hopefully be just getting better and better.
So this is not a comprehensive recap on our 40s or anything like that, but just as we approach 50, we wanted to take stock and say, you know what, Bruce Springsteen's song "Glory Days" is a terrible way to live. If you've peaked at 18 to 25, I'm really sorry.
Great song.
Great song. But I hope that you know that that life can just keep getting better and better and better. And I hope you have the joy and the privilege of discovering that. And what I've found is that 30s were awesome, my 40s were even better, and I fully expect my 50s to top it. So I'm excited for this birthday, for this next decade, and I'm excited to get to do it together in the summer.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Anything else?
What could go right?
What could go right, guys? Thanks for listening.